Morning, Tony.
Hey, Casey.
How are you
It's
doing?
working.
Hey,
Well, I think so. Can you click on that YouTube link and see if you see
I
me?
can. Give me just a minute.
I do, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm sorry for the minor heart attack yesterday.
Yeah, the first thing I did this morning was
It
download
says,
the newest version.
awesome. It says live streaming isn't available right now.
That's what when you click on the YouTube link, that's what it says?
Yes.
Okay. This is why we do this.
Yep.
So I'm just going to cut and paste the link into the chat.
Okay.
And let's see if that one does anything.
Okay.
'Cause then we could just change the link.
Yeah, hold on. It's rendering. Give me just a second. Yep, that works.
Okay, so I need to call Tony up and tell her to change the link that's in all the documents that people are going to click on.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
There's no one's clicked on it yet. It's just a clicking thing.
Great.
Thank you for coming to check.
No problem.
What was that? I've already been on here for like 20. It was the first thing I did.
Yeah, I know. I've been
That's
thinking, yeah, no, I hear you.
Tony Jackson, I am here in the Zoom with Casey, and the link that I put into the document and that you put into everything. Oh, here you are. Never mind. I'm going to close this phone call since you're here in Zoom.
Morning.
Morning. You're on mute.
Sorry, so that link is not working?
But the one that is in the chat right now, if you could just substitute that.
I can. And then can we get that to, because I just put it in the, I just put it on the other one on here. Can we get, sorry, now I'm like spacing here.
I can change it if you want. I'm in your document.
Which, go ahead, I'm in the
Know Your
slide.
Rights 2021 detailed schedule.
Good, change it there, and then there's an open, somehow, this is why I'm like not a quick thinker. Okay. Let me just, right, so it should be this.
Casey, since you're here, can you log off of YouTube
Sure.
and then go to this document?
I'm in the
Know Your
slide.
Rights 2021 detailed schedule.
Good, change it there, and then there's an open. Sorry.
Okay, so let's see, so I'm in the Know Your Rights detailed schedule.
Yep, and then where it says 9 o'clock, click on the live stream.
Click on the live stream, yep.
Tony, are there any other places where people would go looking for that link?
Yes, and so I'm just, there's the one pager, right?
Yep, it works.
Okay.
Okay, so I just need to edit it in the one pager, which I'm doing now. But Tony, can you reply to the email that I sent and change it there?
What email?
The email that I sent last night to everybody, because that's where a lot of people are going to go for the link.
She
Right.
sent an email at 6:58, the KYR day details email.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just keep checking to see if I'm putting in the right one. No, it's like not correcting properly. This is just frustrating because like I can see Paul audio is in what I'm trying to change. Well, it's just not letting me put in the new one. Maybe because he's in there. Unlink it, just remove it. Okay. Now.
Good morning, Ed Nelson.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Your volume is a little low.
Good morning.
That's
you-
much better. Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, Ed Nelson.
Good morning.
Have you updated it, Tony?
You're
Yeah.
muted, Tony.
Not letting me. It keeps going to the old one. It's
So
really
is it
frustrating.
is it the document? I'm sorry, what are you trying to edit?
So I'm trying to copy the link Tony just put in the, Mr. King
Mhm.
just put in the chat.
Yeah.
Tried to just, again, just copy that, Control C. It's like, it's not like, do you hear the beep? It's like literally not letting me Control C.
Can you tell me where you're trying to edit, like what document you're trying to edit it in? Because I might be able to do it.
Well, now I'm just trying to put it in the,
Here, I'll fix it.
it just keeps going to the old one. It's so
Yeah.
weird.
I just
Mhm.
fixed it.
You fixed it in the one pager?
Yes,
Great. Okay. And did you reply to that email?
I am now replying to it. I'm writing a different email to everyone right now. Saying super important.
Right. Thank you. What is the problem with my, it's like, I'm not sure. Guys,
Well,
go
sorry,
ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was just gonna like log out, restart everything because it just
Mhm.
seems to be wonky. So I'm gonna.
That's
be
what I was
back
going to
in
suggest. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
less than 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Okay, this is why we get on 45 minutes early.
Fine.
So what is the plan then? So is City Councilor Campbell joining right at 9? Like, do we know?
I think she'll come in at showtime.
Okay, perfect.
Probably out at a coffee shop or something campaigning.
Right.
She's, have you met her?
I have not.
Love her. She, I forget how old her kids are. She's got little kids.
Mhm.
She's always doing everything. She's just wicked smart. And the thing we love about her is she's just so authentic.
Yeah.
Fancy Princeton, all that. But when you talk to her, it's just like very real.
That's what I've heard from the people who have met her. That is the through line of everyone, that she's just so approachable and down to earth, but she's also just obviously brilliant. So there's that. Cool. Well, I'm, like I said, I had blocked off from 8 to 10 to just be here. if that's helpful. If you'd rather not have another fly on the wall, I understand. Like it's really your comfort level, but I'm more than happy to hang out if it's helpful.
I kind of would like you to hang out if
Sure.
you're okay with that. You can
Absolutely.
be doing email in the meantime, but if
Yeah.
I say, Casey, something's not working.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm happy to do that. And I have the link to the live stream here in the chat. So if I don't know, I'm just thinking through here, if anyone is having issues during the event, you can always like individually chat me in Zoom, and I can also be sending people the link, like whatever's helpful to you. I'm happy to just sort of pinch hit wherever necessary.
Is there a way to know as we're live streaming if people are there watching?
Yeah. So if you go to that live stream link, like when I was there a moment ago, I'll click on it again. It said how many viewers were there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you go to that screen, I can also be sending people the link, like whatever's helpful to you. I'm happy to just sort of pinch hit wherever. Sorry.
Yeah, there, I could hear you. I could hear
Yeah.
as we're live streaming.
So right now it says 2 watching now. Yeah. So if you go to that live stream link, like when I was there. So I just paused it so that we don't have to hear me twice.
I'd answer the door. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okie dokie. All right. So that's, if you could keep an eye on that at like right at 9 o'clock. And if we don't see that go from 2 to 150, then something's wrong.
Okay. That's fine. Now, if that were the case, I don't know, like, do you want me to privately message you? Do you want me to, I don't want to, like, it's sort of
I
uncomfortable.
think
like,
in the
interrupting
chat, it'll
something.
be,
Okay.
I've got a big screen. I've got
Right.
multiple screens in front of me, so I'm able to keep a chat open.
Perfect.
Yeah, and if you could just apprise me of how many people are streaming.
Sure.
That would be great, because then we might just like suddenly need to send all the staff the
link.
again.
Got it.
Something.
Okay. And so then at 10, the idea is that they go into those sort of smaller breakouts.
Right.
Okay.
They'll go into Zooms that they are familiar with.
Got it. Okay. I have another meeting at 10. That's the only reason why I ask. I just want to make sure that I won't be needed by then.
No, we'll be back in our comfort zone.
Yeah, no, I hear. It's so great that she can join. I think it's just such an awesome opportunity that kids get to A, hear from her, and B, ask questions.
Yeah, it's this is one of our big days. I don't know if you know the whole story, like why we do this. So when Trump got elected,
yeah,
we're an all immigrant school. I tell people that my kids are loud, except the day after that election was the quietest this place has ever been. It was a funeral.
Yeah.
So that was in November, and we're like, we got to do some stuff. And so on inauguration day, we like didn't have regular school. We just had workshops and celebrations and stuff, and we called it Diversity and Democracy Day. And so that was
that's awesome.
That was on inauguration day. Mike Capuano, who was our representative at the time, came.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to Washington today. This is where I want to be.
Oh wow.
So that felt great. It was awesome. And but then we're like, okay, that's great, but now the kids need to know what the heck their rights are.
Right.
This new context. And so we did the Know Your Rights as a follow-up to that. And we've been doing both ever since.
That's wonderful.
And this Diversity Democracy Day was a celebration finally.
Yes.
And this know your rights is very different too,
Right.
because there are good things happening now. that
Right.
It's important for families to know about.
Right.
So yeah, that's just a little bit of the.
Thank you. No, it's nice to hear that context.
Tony
All right,
Jackson,
Tony, how are things
everything
looking?
good?
Yeah, but I checked the live stream first just to make sure that link was working.
Did
And
you
I-
check from my email?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes. And I texted Julia, Amanda, Kristen, Beth, and Paquita.
Okay.
Actually, I mean, I don't think that grade level is meeting, but it's that suite of teachers as well. But do you
Good
have
morning.
Perla's? Good morning. Actually, Jocelyn probably has Perla's.
You want me to text her?
Yeah. Let me see if I have her. I might have her. We also said we were going to set up a phone.
A group text?
Yeah, is her number like a 703 number?
Oh, 703 Virginia.
Yep, 703-987.
So just
Yeah, she's from Virginia.
I'm from DC, that's why.
okay. So now I've just texted her too, and Kristen said she got it. So I know they're meeting, but it's really just the hosts, right, that need the live stream link. It's not the whole staff, like a panic. So
Mhm.
as long as all of the hosts are on it, then we're good.
Oh, that's not the right. Sorry. Ignore that link that I just put in the chat. Hold on, let me.
I wish there was a delete.
There
feature
should
in
be
chat.
actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just talked about introducing it. So I was in a meeting with Zoom, but I'm not seeing it, which is annoying me because I know I'm running the latest version.
Same here. I have the latest version. And yesterday I posted something for my students to go to, and it was the wrong link.
That's
And
the best.
It takes you like 7 minutes to reel them back from
I
the
know.
wrong.
I know. As soon as I was like, all right, let me put what I meant to put in. Control C.
So I'm gonna. Good morning, Catherine.
Tony Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, my thank yous to City Councilor Campbell, Pair Project, EMKI, Student Immigrant Movement, Rianne Center, Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement.
Yep.
Okay.
I think I mean, one quick note is like none of these are strangers, right? No group is
Oh,
new,
of course, yeah.
right? So just all of these folks have presented a zillion times before, and that's why we felt comfortable, right, inviting them to our first tornado of a whole school event, because they know us and they know that we're worth the extra time and energy it takes to put into it. Ed Milson, you're still with us. Do you want to practice your introduction, honey?
Sure.
I would love it. Mr. King, can you make me a co-host so that I can mute and unmute people? Thank you.
I'm also happy to be a co-host. I don't think I am. Great. Thank you.
Can I start now? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We are excited to have Councilor Campbell share this special day with us. Andrea Campbell currently serves as City Councilor here in Boston, and she's running for mayor this year. We are grateful for our ongoing relationship with Councilor Campbell. She has visited our school several times over the years and we thought she would be great to speak with us today as we discuss our rights here in America. Now, I will pass it on to Councilor Campbell.
You sounded
That's
great.
I'm so calm and professional.
Right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Love it.
Great. Catherine, is there anything you would like to practice?
Yes, actually. Should I like start with like, hi, counselor. My name is Catherine de Jesus Martinez. I am the student body president, and I would like to ask you some questions today. Is that fine?
That's fine. I wouldn't say hi because she will have already basically been
Good morning.
introduced to you. Good morning. Good morning. Yep. That's a good shift. And really listen. Ms. Edwards is going to introduce you, right? So you just be listening to how Ms. Edwards introduces you. And so if she says, our student council president, Catherine, is going to introduce, then you don't need to say, I am the student, right? Just hear what is said ahead. So I think it's good to have all the things and then kind of be crossing off what you don't need to say if it's been said before. But did you look at her remarks that City Councilor Campbell is planning to make today?
I did not.
This is not a quiz, honey.
I actually did not. I'm seeing that
okay
from you.
Yeah. So the reason why it's okay. The reason why I sent it to you though was for you to notice that she actually doesn't address any of those things that you were going to ask her questions about. So you're really ready. She talks more about this is who I am and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Your questions are, well, how can we fix this? And what do you think about this? And how is mayor, are you going to change this? What can we do as young people? So your questions are, so not only does she not answer any of your questions in her speech, but her speech is also quite short. So she's really it's almost like you're co-writing this speech with her because you're going to queue up all of these answers that she has, but that she didn't put in her speech. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I also have another questions in terms of like opening the floor to other students to ask questions. Like, is it okay if I ask a couple of questions and then say, or like before anything in the chat, say you can raise your hand and I'll call on you if you guys want to ask a question.
I think for sure, if your fellow student government members want to ask questions in the moment, you should encourage them to do that. But I also think, do you have a note about who wrote some of the questions? Like, do you have
I mean, we all wrote it. We didn't specify who wrote what.
I wonder if it doesn't make sense to even now. Is it a document that you share?
Yeah, it's a document.
I'm just wondering if you, I know I have it, but I'm wondering if you wanted to write some student names underneath the questions and just be like, I'm going to call on you for this one, Shania. I'm going to call on you for this one.
Okay.
I don't think they're prepared for that.
Okay, so you think Catherine's going to ask all the questions?
Yeah, if in the spot someone wants to do it, that's fine.
Okay.
But yeah.
No. Thank you. That's fine. So scratch what I said, Catherine.
Yeah, we have a lot of shy students in student government. Hardworking,
right.
but shy, yeah.
Okay, so no cold calling.
I have a question about the link, and you might have talked about this before I came on. What did you share the link that Tony shared in his email, or did you share the link that you get when you click on live on YouTube? Because they're not the same link. And the link that you sent out yesterday in the email, it came up as a gray box.
Right. So
I thought I replaced the in the one pager and the detailed schedule. It should be this link.
Okay. I didn't click from I initially tried to click from your email from last night, and it wasn't live. Okay.
That one's wrong.
Okay, good.
So I sent out the new one in the email, and we replaced the one that was in the detailed schedule and the one pager.
Okay.
And I think at 8:45, I'm going to send it out again.
And I have a quick last question. Is it okay if I said, what is the city of Boston, or what are you planning to do when you become a mayor? Like the mayor or city, what is the city of Boston, or like, what is the city of Boston going to look like when you're a mayor? Like, should I?
Or you could, like in that say, how would the city of Boston be different with Mayor Campbell or something?
Okay.
Anything like that?
I misspoke. So here, like one of the questions is, what is the city of Boston doing to decrease our homeless population? Should I ask like that, or what are you going to do when you become a mayor to decrease our homeless population?
I think for the context of this, maybe a little bit more for the first one, like, what is the city of Boston doing? And I think she'll talk about her ideas to address that. She's working on it right now as a city councilor, and she's thinking about what she would do if she were mayor, I'm pretty sure. So I think it's okay to ask in the present, and then she'll probably say, and if she were mayor, she would do more.
Okay, thank you.
I'm glad you're asking that question. Such a critical issue for so many of our families is housing.
Ms. Vosh, I'm looking for the form that you sent so that I can call up the responses. Do you, or do you want to just reshare the response sheet with me so that I can have that up and keep refreshing it?
Yep, sure. Let me just get back.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, Tony Jackson's messing with stuff because now we only see Ms. Vosh.
I'm not messing with anything.
Because I'm typing too loudly.
She's typing loudly.
What does that mean, that it just switched to Ms. Vosh somehow?
I think my audio was the loudest audio, so it went to me. Yeah, I can.
Sorry, I was muted. It also depends on your view. So right now I have it in gallery view, just so I can see everyone. You might just have it in speaker view, Tony, so that if whomever's loudest gets prioritized on your screen.
What do we want it on?
So you're going to want it, I believe, on speaker view, and then you're going to spotlight the speakers who are speaking.
Okay. I'm going to put it on speaker view, and then Tony, you're going to do any spotlighting as necessary?
Yes, yes.
And then we thought, like during the Q&A part, that maybe the adults just sort of turn off their cameras and it'll automatically just show the kids with the city council.
Right.
Well, it depends on, again, like it depends on your view. So since everyone's going to be looking at your screen because it's the live stream, you'll just want to make sure that whatever your view is, that's what's being watched.
So I'll switch at that time. I'll switch to gallery.
Yep.
And then we'll turn off our cameras and change to the setting to only show.
That sounds good. I'll plan on turning off my camera for the majority of it, since I'm not part of the school community. I'm not just this random person hanging out in the event.
This extra screen Mr. Taze gave me is great. It's like one of these Acer screens, so it's like super wide, so I can fit my little participant window and my, right? And I can actually like, oh no. I see, I can actually stop people's video, right? Shut it down. Catherine, do you want to practice more questions, like just reading them out loud, just to make sure that there are no words in there that are going to trip you up?
Sure.
I mean,
Well,
it's up to you, honey. It's just the silence is deafening.
100%. I was just asking Kellen if she could have come in so she could also ask some questions, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
she's gotta come
Okay,
in.
she's got to.
Okay, so some of the questions are, good morning, counselor. My name is Catherine, and is it okay if I ask you and I'll be asking you some questions today.
Don't repeat your name, Catherine, because I'm already going to introduce you, okay?
Sounds good. No name repetition either. Good. So one of the questions that came up in student government was, what is the city of Boston doing to decrease our homeless population? She's gonna answer. That sounds amazing. But as you know, right now, like I'm pretty sure she's going to somehow not end up in that question. She's gonna, because they all do that. They all start with something and end up with something else. So that sounds amazing. As you know, right now, undocumented students are not eligible for any paid internships or any paid jobs. What is the city of Boston planning to do in regards to this? Or is the city of Boston doing anything that students are just not aware of? Another long one that I haven't practiced is, so according to the internet, the livable wage of Boston is $50,000, which my family only makes $22,000 a year, which means I am not leaving, I am surviving. What is the city of Boston intending to, how is the city of Boston intending to implement better paying jobs? Or I need to stop intending. Say that too much. But how is the city of Boston planning to implement better paying jobs? Should I say for like lower class, for lower education classes?
Could say for low wage workers, how are they planning to, or planning to raise wages for low skilled workers?
Yeah, I like that one.
Ms. Vosh, have you shared this with me and I just am still not getting it? I keep refreshing.
The
Oh, I
question
put it in
form, it's
chat.
in the chat.
Oh, for Lord's sake.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
can also put questions in the chat. Oh, like
I,
if you
the
guys.
form is there, and then the Google sheet is
I
there.
see
that
it now.
collects
I'm
them.
sorry. I just like was not looking.
No worries. I didn't know you wanted it via email. Catherine, one thing you might want to keep in mind is that when you're reading questions, in the corner of your screen, sometimes we can see your tablet or your phone kind of move in, which it's not super distracting, but you just don't want to pull it in too much.
I'm writing it in my notebook. Why? Because I don't like college. I really don't. Ms. Bash, can you please email me the form because it will be easier for me?
Absolutely. Tony, would you like me to email you the form too, in case
no,
you lose it and you need to find it?
No, this is fine, but it said I didn't have access to the sheet.
Really?
So I just requested access.
Okay, let me.
It's so funny. It's like as soon as I copy it from the chat, it appears in my window. It's like sort of magic. So the form works fine, but the responses.
That's weird, because I just generated it from. Why can I not? This is bizarre. I can't copy from the chat.
I had that issue as well, Jocelyn. That's when I put the wrong link in. I had copied and I thought, this is odd. I wonder why this is happening. I wonder if it's the new update. But that was the thing that anyway, I will take it up with Zoom after this.
Yeah, because that happened in one of the earlier versions. You couldn't copy and from a chat, but then
they fixed it. Yes.
Now I can't. Which is why that must be why I gave the wrong link to my kids yesterday, because I'm like, I know that where is it?
No, this is why weird things were happening when I kept trying to copy things too.
Yeah. Welcome to my life as the Zoom admin. It's fine.
All right, hang on. I'm getting let me see, I did the form. Now I want to make sure you have the responses.
Can we let Isabel in? I'm happy to admit her.
Yes. Okay.
Can I ask a last question?
Please. Yes.
For BPS, I know that's like the Dr. Caselia's job, not necessarily the mayor's job, but like, is it okay if I ask on ICE collaborating with BPS? Because the mayor still has influence because he's technically like the superintendent's boss.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can ask, what does she think about Boston School Police working with ICE and with the Boston City Police, right? There's City Police, School Police, and ICE.
Can I also ask what she thinks of, because like there's a controversy on school police not being necessary because it does not necessarily guarantee safety to our students. It actually creates tension. Can I ask on that?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
The first one, Catherine, I think probably the council would refer to, there's a new policy that's been passed by the school committee, very much focused on the sharing of information or not sharing of information between the district and schools and all that. So she might refer to that. I think the second question might be giving her more space to talk about priorities in terms of budgeting for what kind of people need to be in schools.
And is it okay if I say, some people refer to school policing as protective and safe, other students refer to school policing as I'll find the words as like having tension and just intimidation. Where do you stand on this? Is it okay if I ask, where do you stand on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
You're welcome.
So Miss Nova says she's watching us on the live stream and we look great. So
okay, that's what I want. Casey, how many people do we have watching our stream? 5?
Let me take a look. I'm going to mute myself so that you don't have to hear it twice.
It's
there is
12
that
people
delay
right now.
12. Okay, you've got it.
Yep.
Nice.
Saskia is here. Fatimata is here.
May I let Michaela in?
Yes.
Okay.
How many student government folks are coming?
20 were invited. Hopefully 15 will come.
Do we know who this person is? Unknown Lake?
yeah, yep,
That's Lake.
that's like, we know him.
Might want to rename himself for the live stream.
Maybe.
Did you hear that, Lake? Can you rename yourself for the live stream?
I don't see him yet.
I can rename him.
I actually also have permission to rename him. That's odd.
He's
I
in
made
his
you. I
link.
made you a co-host, Josh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we have
V.
Yep. I love all these the posters, guys. I would love to see faces more, but if I'm not seeing faces, I'm at least glad for all the colorful and interesting artwork and graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Hi, Miss
V.
So cute.
Speaking of artwork, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
missed
Queen of
you.
artwork this year.
Congratulations.
Oh, we have 13 watching now. One more.
We're huge. We're gonna break the internet.
So, and we're expecting, Tony, you had said somewhere, what, like over 100 people watching the live stream? Is that what you're looking for?
For sure.
Okay.
Should be a lot more than that even.
Okay.
Should be between 300 and 400.
Got it. Thank you.
Oh no, it might
Really?
not look like that. No, because it's the hosts
Right.
streaming
In
it
each room.
Right.
in each room. So it's actually, the numbers will be misleading in that sense, because there'll be one computer streaming it while 80, 70 11th graders watch it. So
Okay.
there will be a lot of people watching, but in terms of the numbers on the video, on the
Which
stream,
is
it
fine.
won't
I
be.
just wanted to get a sense of if the numbers are much lower than they should be, just in terms of the live stream, like whether the
Okay.
link needs to be sent out again. Like I'm trying to get a sense of what the threshold should be.
So I've texted a bunch of people, so I should see it, but it really actually, now that I think about it, 20 might be the right number,
Okay.
because so many of us who are not in the Zoom rooms are in this Zoom room.
Right. Okay.
And there's only about 13 meeting rooms.
Understood. Thank you. That's helpful. And so, Tony, do you still want me to message you at about 9:05 of the
Yeah,
number?
just how many folks we have.
Okay.
And by then, Tony will be hearing from anybody if there's any issues, I think.
Sure. Okay.
And actually, I will text, just so that we have these numbers, I'm going to text the hosts now to text me like how many people are in their rooms, just anyway, I'd like to know. So in the moment, how many people are, I don't know if I have Rosenblum's phone number, but
I have it.
if you could send it to me, that would be great.
Oh, look, Kaylin's here. Hi, Kaylin.
Hi, hello everyone. Sorry for being late. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
It's good to see your face, Kaylin.
Good to see you all too.
Kellen, I have a question. Is it okay if I type to you a question in the private chat and then I say Kellen has a question in regards to our homeless population, and you ask the question?
The question, and I repeat the question.
Like, for example, what is the city of Boston doing to decrease our homeless population? Are you okay asking that?
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing to our students, if you guys have questions, please raise your hand and I will call on you guys. Thank you.
Text it to her, Catherine, because we're not using the chat. It's only for the host.
Sounds good.
Or are we opening it up, Mr. King?
The chat is open.
The chat is open, but I don't know that participants can do private chats among themselves. In fact, I think that's restricted.
But Catherine could just put that in the chat that
She
everyone
could
can
put it in
see.
the chat for everyone.
Direct
but-
it to Kaylin now.
Sure.
Just put the @Keller.
Mhm. I'm going to take a look at the live stream and just see what our numbers are. So I'm going to mute myself. Or I guess Jocelyn has it open. So
It looks like 18.
18. Okay.
7. Oh yeah, 18.
Okay.
I blinked.
Okay.
I see Mr. Gene is here. I think maybe
Mr. Gene is in the Zoom?
He
I don't-
was.
I don't see.
Oh, he must have left because he wasn't
They
supposed to
had
be.
the link.
Mhm.
They had the link on the one pager in case people were looking for it. So
I have 151 subscribers to my YouTube channel.
Nice work.
You think? Was that enough for them to start writing me big checks every month?
Oh.
You're gonna start putting ads on your morning announcement. You could sell the Binka mask, the Binka bear, the Binka beanie.
oh no, this Zoom is where the Zoom is, right? I was just like,
Right.
I'm wondering where the counselor is.
Well, it's 8:57. She has a few minutes if
Right.
she's going to get here right at 9.
Okay.
Should we check the practice Zoom in case Sean gave her the wrong link and she's waiting in that one, the one from last night?
I don't even know how to do that. I'm not leaving any of the screens that I have open because they're working.
Did you get an email? Do you have an email saying someone tried to join your Zoom?
No.
In case you, okay. Oh, we're up to 20 viewers.
Okay.
Hello, 20 people.
All right. At this point, I'm going to take myself off camera and mute
Same.
myself. And I will put in the chat to you, Tony, how many people we have at about 9:05.
Great. Thanks for your help again, Casey.
No problem.
Thank you.
Did we also take our cameras off, or is that for once the Q&A starts?
Yeah, I think once after I finish my part, I think I'm going to turn off my camera because I don't have any more.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn mine off as soon as I say hello to a city councilor.
Deep breaths, Ms. Jackson, deep breaths.
Well,
Do you have the text of what's his name?
I
Sean?
don't. It's funny. I do have a phone number here, but he and I have not texted, though he has my number. Oh no.
How about in his email? I'm
Oh,
thinking
I
it
do.
wasn't
I
there.
do.
But Tony, he might have oh no, he has the right link because the YouTube link we changed, but not the Zoom link.
Right.
$21. We need Miss T Blanc here with her DJ skills. Or maybe Catherine could sing.
Miss Vash, you're the technology genius. Can't you put music?
Probably. I don't know what's in my iTunes on my school computer. You probably want to stay away from that.
So somehow he's saying he has the wrong link. Can you resend the link to, no, here.
The Zoom link?
Yeah. He says he must have confused them.
No problem.
Can you do it, or like?
What, just, I just opened up an invitation to come to this meeting.
Yeah.
What's his email?
It's come on.
We got one from him. Do you want me to send
Yeah,
it in reply?
it's SEAN. Sorry, I can.
Oh, got it. Sent.
Okay. Okay.
Ms. Vosh and Ms. Edwards, if you have just a moment, can you text any teacher buddy of yours and see if they're in the live stream?
Yes, can they hear us now in
They
the live
can.
stream? Yeah, can they be mindful of the waiting rooms? I'm getting a couple of texts about kids waiting in the waiting room.
Oh, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, sorry about that. Thank you. And I just sent the link over to the counselor, so she should be on in a second.
Oh, great.
Great. Thank you. Sorry, we had a live stream scare. We had to change links, so we were.
So Miss Natalia is all set. She's in the live stream.
Great.
Oh, I need to help a kid get into her room. Put myself on mute.
Great. City councilor is here. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Counselor Campbell, welcome.
Hi,
Welcome.
just I have a new Zoom. That was a mistake. Like, where's okay, here we go. Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. It's so great to be here and to see all of you.
Thank you so much for making the time. I know you are especially busy now.
Oh, no, this is, I love you guys. I always appreciate the invitation, and I'm always sad when I can't come. So I'm happy to be here this morning. So thank you all. It's just, this is great.
Awesome. So Tony, should I kick off the program here? Okay. So good morning, Boston International Newcomers Academy community. Today is a very exciting day in our community. It's Know Your Rights Day. And I am so excited that we are continuing with Know Your Rights Day, even though school is different now. And we're doing this virtually today. So I have a lot of people to thank for making this possible. But first, I just want to look back to why we have Know Your Rights Day. Folks might remember that 4 years ago, after the election that elected Donald Trump to be president, our school community was feeling a lot of pain. And that was when we did our first Diversity and Democracy Day. And it was not quite enough to just do the Diversity and Democracy Day. So we moved to make sure that all of our students knew about the rights that they had and the responsibilities. And so Know Your Rights Day was born 4 years ago. And we have continued to do this each year, adding new elements to the program, new partners to the program, to make this a really, really special day. And today we're doing it a little differently because it's going to be online, but we are really excited to do it again this year. So I have some people to thank. First, I'm going to thank City Councilor Campbell for joining us today. She is an incredibly busy leader in our community. Most recently, she has announced that she is running for mayor of Boston, and we are so excited for her. She is a friend of our school. She somehow manages to be absolutely brilliant and very authentic all at the same time, which we really appreciate as a school community. I also want to thank some other longtime BINCA partners who are helping today. The PAIR project has been a critical partner, a group of lawyers who make sure that our students understand the rights that they have. This year, some of the changes in the laws are good news. We are very excited that this year's Know Your Rights Day includes good changes that are going to be beneficial to our students and families. I also want to thank our friends at the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the Senate, who are always a great partner for BINCA and will be helping us again today. To the student immigrant movement, who helped us take Know Your Rights to the next level by having exciting activities for our students to do. The Rianne Center, who is just an incredible partner to our school community and was our bridge to joining the Massachusetts Immigrant Collaborative, which has been critical in allowing us to give direct support to our families for these last months. So thank you to the Rianne Center. The Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement is going to help us again today. We have great friends there, and we are excited to bring them into the Know Your Rights Day. So I think I've talked enough. I'm going to pass things over to Ed Milson to introduce City Councilor Campbell. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We are excited to have Councilor Campbell share this special day with us. Andrea Campbell currently serves as City Councilor here in Boston, and she is running for mayor this year. We are grateful for our ongoing relationship with Councilor Campbell. She has visited our school several times over the years, and we thought she would be great to speak to us today as we discuss our rights here in America. I would like her to speak for us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And it's so great to be here with each and every one of you. And thank you so much for the warm introduction and the kind words. It's so great to be connected. Of course, I wish we were in person because we'd be hugging each other, right? We'd be spreading love and joy. That's my way. But it's, we have to do this virtually, and that's okay. So I'm just really honored to be here. And appreciate all the work it takes, right? It's not easy to set up these platforms to make this happen. So thank you to all of you for organizing this and for the invitation. I also, of course, want to thank all of your staff and teachers and principals and educators and administrators who are working incredibly hard, of course, to keep our schools going during this very difficult time. It isn't easy, but students clearly are still learning. We're still engaged. And so I'm really grateful to the staff. And so if you have not said thank you lately, say thank you to all of them. It is not easy to do this work virtually. So thank you. And of course, in my years on the City Council, I've gotten to visit BINCA several times, including at Democracy Day, of course, and your graduation. I have a deep, deep love and appreciation for this school, which I always say is a gem in Dorchester and in District 4. I also, of course, want to thank the families and caregivers who may be joining us today. None of us, I've said this before, reach our God-given potential or accomplish our dreams without love, support, and encouragement. And this is a challenging time for many of us as we are navigating COVID. Some have lost their lives, lost their jobs, lost their housing, you name it. And families still are forging ahead with such resiliency. So thank you so much to all of the families for supporting these incredible leaders, supporting these beautiful students, and for everything you do to support this BINCA community. And of course, to the students that are watching, I'm not going to sit here and give you an expose on like your legal rights. That will come, of course, in the sessions after I speak. But, you know, I think your principal said it best, right? This was born out of a president who had such hatred for those who were different, who perpetuated that hatred and continues to, if you're watching anything with respect to what's happening in Washington, D.C. And so I'm really proud of the response that this community and the surrounding community, including the incredible partners, for coming together to say, we are not going to accept that hatred. We are going to love one another. We are going to uplift each other. We are going to celebrate our diversity, celebrate the diversity in our immigrant communities, and most importantly, value the humanity in each other. And to the students watching, I always say this, every single one of you is special and important. I truly believe that each of us is here on this planet to serve a purpose that is unique to us. And that my job as a counselor and that of your mentors, your teachers, your supporters in this room is to help you realize that purpose. I'm also here to tell you that I have experienced incredible pain and tragedy. Some of you have heard the story before, some maybe not. And that these experiences, these stories that we all share are nothing to be ashamed of, but they are the experiences that have shaped us and made us powerful. And as you go on in life, I encourage you to tell your stories, to share every facet of them, and to use them to keep going, to keep pushing ahead, keep forging ahead, to use them to advocate for your friends, your family, and your community, and most importantly, to realize your purpose. Before running for Boston City Council, and of course, jumping into this mayor's race, I was like many of you. I was young, I was growing up in the city of Boston, I was wanting to figure out what my life was supposed to be about, what my purpose was. I'd experienced tremendous pain and loss growing up in the city of Boston. I grew up in Roxbury in the South End. At an early age, my mother died in a car accident. My father was incarcerated for the first 8 years of my life. But amidst all of that chaos, I could count on my school community, my after-school programming to be supportive of me, to be consistent, and to help me stay focused so that I could realize my purpose. And because of these teachers that I had, my after-school programs, my mentors, my double Dutch coaches, all of that, I was blessed, of course, to go off to Princeton University and then later to law school. So I'm really excited to be here today, specifically for the rights conversation. But most importantly, in addition to all this support, I also had folks in my family that encouraged me and supported me. Not every single one, but many of them. But however, I knew that this was not true for many of my peers, including my own twin brother. And I share my story about my brother all the time. And I'm so blessed that there are teachers on here, including Isabel, who knew my twin brother very well and taught him. But he did not have the same access to excellent Boston Public Schools that I did, the same programming that I had access to. And because of that, he cycled in and out of the criminal justice system, ended up passing away while in the custody of the Department of Correction, which oversees our prisons here in Massachusetts, when he was only 29 years old. So for me, this work of being an elected, being a public servant has always been in response to his passing and asking one question, which is how did two twins born and raised in the city of Boston have such different life outcomes? That is the question that fueled me to run for office in the first place and to go after figuring out what my purpose was. And that question still fuels my work today. And my purpose is not just to speak up and share my story, but to fight for all we deem to be vulnerable. And I am blessed to serve in a role that allows me to realize my purpose while at the same time working on policies to ensure that each and every one of you and your families have access to the same opportunity I had growing up in the city of Boston. And of course, that means access to great schools, to resources you need, making sure your teachers, your school staff have everything they need to support you, making sure that all of our families have access to good housing, good healthcare, good jobs, and so much more. And I share my story often because we frankly need more diverse stories in leadership. So if some of you are thinking about being lawyers, go for it. Being an elected official, go for it. We need to diversify and change the narrative in these spaces. They tend to be, and I'll just be very frank with you, majority white men in leadership roles in all of these spaces. And I think we have an opportunity in this moment in time to shift that narrative so that when you are in spaces or when you go to places, you can share your stories of what it means to be an immigrant, what it means to be diverse, what it means to be a fighter, what it means to be resilient, what it means to speak a different language, and what it means, of course, to celebrate diversity and the humanity of each and every one of us. And so today I'm here to challenge you not to focus on the negatives. Yes, I'm happy that that former president is gone, but not to focus on the negatives, not to focus on folks who don't understand you or see your value, but to follow your passions, find those spaces, those places, and those people that will make you feel joy, make you feel loved, make you feel valued. Whether it's channeling your energy into school, a job, a future career, art, music, or other interests, channel your energy into that. Dive into that work in those activities and inspire your creativity so that you can find your unique purpose. And know that I, along with so many others, are right here waiting to support you every step of the way, that we believe in you, we love you, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys today to participate in the conversation, to talk about what rights you should know, but most importantly, to make sure you feel special. And so thank you for the invitation. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words. And again, thank you so much to this Binka community for the community you create, the inclusiveness you create, and most importantly, valuing the humanity in each and every one of you. I feel blessed to represent you on the council. I feel blessed to be connected to you. So thank you so very much.
Thank you so much again, Councillor Campbell, for being with us today and for sharing your story and your message of hope. We are truly appreciative of all the work that you do every day, especially around social justice. This cause is super important for our community, and it's such a blessing to have you, a champion for equality and social justice, serving for Boston. And now for our Q&A, I would like to introduce our amazing Student Government President, Catherine De Jesus Martinez, who will moderate. And we'll just ask the student government members to turn on their cameras.
Good morning, Council. I truly love the part where you said, fight for the vulnerable. And my question is, as you know, some of our undocumented students aren't eligible for any paid internships or any paid jobs. What is the city of Boston doing to create more opportunities for those students?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. New Zoom. No, first of all, thank you so much for the question and uplifting this point, because it is something I've been fighting for. In my office, we don't discriminate, right? If you live in the city of Boston, whether you have a status or not, you are part of our community, and we treat you just like everybody else. And so we afford opportunities to folks regardless of that. But we recently have been having hearings and conversations around specifically where the city of Boston may be excluding folks if they are deemed to be undocumented. I was told recently in this hearing that we do not exclude folks from benefits, from certain relief programs that folks need during COVID, for jobs and various things. But I do think we can go a step farther. We don't necessarily celebrate that point. And sometimes I think politics can get in the way. I think we need to be uplifting folks, especially those that are undocumented, not hiding them. And so there's a lot more the city can do to change that. But first and foremost for me, it's always making sure that every program we offer, every service, whether it's a job, whether it's funding to help folks stay in their homes during COVID or get unemployment benefits, you name it. If you live in the city of Boston and you are a resident here, regardless of your demographic, your ethnicity, your immigration status, you are entitled to all those programs. And so we'll keep fighting for the city to do better, and also for the state and the federal government to also do better.
Thank you for that brilliant answer. Another question student government had was in terms of school policing. So as some people refer to school policing as safe and welcoming and protective, others refer to them as being unsafe and intimidating. Where do you stand on this?
So I started my legal career representing students in education cases, in a lot of school discipline cases. And what I noticed, there was a pattern, right? It tended to be students of color who were charged with school-based offenses, and it would lead to them going into some type of juvenile detention center. And we know that usually leads to incarceration. That cradle to prison or school to prison pipeline is real. And I think if we are going to change that and change the outcome for our students, we have to do away with school police. And this is a conversation I've been hosting in partnership with some council colleagues. It is a hard conversation. We do have, school police within our police department, but within our school department, we also have school resource officers. But the problem I have with school resource officers, and not to say they are bad people, is they are deputized as school officers. And so they have an authority or a presence that presents as a school officer. And I've heard from young people, it is not helpful. Our young people need more guidance counselors, more mental health clinicians, more trauma supports. And so how might we repurpose this role for these folks to serve as these other adults? Many of them are already doing that. Many of these school resource officers offer mentoring or tutoring supports. They do all kinds of things in addition to their public safety responsibilities. I think we need to do away with the public safety part and create other meaningful relationships. And I've heard that specifically from young people. I think it is often the adults that get in the way of that change, but it's something I'm going to continue to push.
Thank you so much. You also in your speech mentioned that every student should have access to affordable housing. But as we know, Boston is under the 10th most expensive cities in the whole United States. What, as a mayor, what will you do to change this and to make housing more affordable to others?
Thank you for the question. This is amazing. So I will say, one, I passed in my first year in the council, we call it the Community Preservation Act. And it was my first piece of legislation on the council. And it is now generating millions of dollars, millions, almost 20 to sometimes $25 million every single year. And it can only be used for affordable housing, parks, or historic preservation. And so I've been pushing for more of that funding to be used for housing. And housing, not just rental opportunities, but home ownership opportunities to allow our folks to buy homes. And you don't have to wait until you get into your 30s, your 40s, or 50s, right? You can start young to build wealth, to build assets. And so really pushing young people to think about when you get a job, what savings look like, how you save your money, how do you go through a first-time home buyer program, which I'm pushing to expand, to allow you to buy a home sooner, right? Maybe move out of your parents' house and buy your own home. And so this helps, of course, when you're pushing for more home ownership and pushing for creative legislative solutions like the Community Preservation Act that can give you millions of dollars to do this. It allows you to go into community to help, of course, create more home ownership opportunities, but also to close the staggering racial wealth gap in the city of Boston, where right now a Black family has a net median worth of $8. Some Latino or Latinx families, it is $0. And for a white family, it's nearly $250,000. So we have to really think about how we expand home ownership, not so only folks have a good place to live, but so they also can have an asset so we can close that wealth gap and they have greater stability. And I'll just add, because we're in the middle of this pandemic, and it's cases I see often, we have folks right now being evicted and pushed out of their homes in the middle of this pandemic. And so in the immediate, I am fighting for folks to stay in their homes, fighting for folks to have lawyers to combat these illegal evictions. And so if there are any folks who are participating or family members who are struggling with a landlord who is trying to push them out in the middle of a pandemic, please call us, please let us know, because that is real right now for many of our families and no one should go through that.
Thank you. As just saying on how Boston is on the top 10 most expensive cities, they say that the livable wage is $50,000, which my family makes $22,000, which means that we're surviving, not leaving. So how can the city of Boston ensure or implement better jobs to our low-skilled workers?
A whole bunch of ways. And I'm so happy you brought it up, because the jobs conversation or career conversation goes hand in hand with housing. You have an excellent job with a high paying wage, and you're in a job that allows you to be promoted over time and to grow your wage. You can buy a home, right? It eases the housing crisis in many ways. So they go hand in hand, and we often don't talk enough about jobs, jobs, jobs. In coming out of COVID, we're going to have to be really creative as a city, because many of our workers who are low wage workers have lost their jobs. And they've also lost their careers because the industries they're serving in, whether it's service oriented, the hotel industry, has just been obliterated in many ways. And so I do think as a city, one, we can be pushing the private sector. We have a robust private sector in the city of Boston. This is why we're going to bounce back quickly economically from this pandemic, but pushing them to actually not only hire our folks and to develop high quality training programs to help our folks get back to work, but also create pathways into careers that allow them to start with a living wage, but to continue to grow that wage over time. There are so many folks who stay at the same wage for decades. That is just unacceptable. You do a great job, you should get a good wage, and it should increase. You should also have benefits and sick leave and paid family leave. All of these other things are critically important as well. And there are a lot of industries, the healthcare industry, higher ed industry, robust industries that drive our economy in the city of Boston that we can push to make available, or sort of push to create these partnerships to allow for our workers to get back. And for those who are currently employed, to look at something else that will allow them to expand their wealth, expand their wage, so that we don't have families continuing to live in poverty, because that's what it is. We can change that in the city of Boston. We have all the resources to do it, and government needs to lead the way in maximizing those partnerships. Oh, I forgot one thing, Catherine. I have to add this because of just the recent study that came out. The city of Boston, too, we have jobs. We need to be more intentional about hiring folks who are more women and more people of color. We also need to be more intentional about investing in our entrepreneurs, our small business owners, many of whom are women, immigrants, people of color. And we do not do a great job. The city of Boston has nearly a $4 billion budget. And we just got a study that says less than, of the contract dollars in Black businesses, for example, less than 0.5% go to Black owned businesses. I mean, of course, there are some immigrants in that category. So we have a lot more to do to make sure our small businesses have access to the contracts coming from the city of Boston, which are in the millions, and can help a family grow their wealth, but also help these businesses create jobs right in their neighborhoods. And so we have a lot more to do to make sure that process is equitable and that it's fair, and that our immigrant communities and our people of color and women can access these contracts.
That sounds amazing, if I have to say. Our student Kellen, she has a question in regards to our legislation.
I'm looking around. Hi.
Hello. First of all, thank you for being here with us today. And you have been talking about the housing. So my question is, how and what is the city of Boston doing to decrease our homeless population?
No, first of all, thank you so much for the question. We need to be building housing faster, and not just any type of housing, supportive housing, some people call it. And this is housing that allows you not only to have a good place to live, that is safe, that is healthy, but also allows you to be connected to other types of services. So if you're homeless, it's typically because of something, right, that's gone wrong. What I recently learned is that domestic violence plays a critical role in why we see folks who are homeless, particularly women. It is one of, I think, the driving factor for homelessness among women. And so that tells me we have a lot more to do in terms of our domestic violence cases and responding to issues of domestic violence that are often uncomfortable to talk about, but it is real in all of our communities. And so when we say supportive housing for those who may be coming out of a domestic violence situation, that means mental health supports. That means workforce training and helping folks get a job. That means creating a sense of community, which is really important. If you have children supports for children, making sure they can navigate the education process. And so it's not just housing, it's creating housing that has all of these wraparound services, and it will help address folks who are dealing either with domestic violence or opioids and substance use disorder, which is another driver of homelessness. And we can be building this housing faster. We can also be activating, and this is a project that is near and dear to me, city-owned vacant lots. We have a lot of city-owned vacant lots just sitting in our communities, largely in Dorchester and Mattapan, that are blighted, have not been activated. They are not always well maintained. They don't look great in our community. If you just drive up Blue Hill Ave, you'll see a lot of them. Many of those parcels are city-owned. We could be activating those really quickly to help dealing with the issues of homelessness. And I have a project like that going on right in the district as well.
Thank you so much for that question, Kellen, and thank you so much, Council, for that answer. So this question is from one of our students, Long. He says, how can we change school policies to give students more choices about the classes they want to take? And how can every school offer classes that are important to students in the future?
Oh, I love that. So I will tell you, questions around the curriculum have been coming up quite a bit of late. And I think part of it is, just after all of us experiencing the former president, and the hatred there, and questioning, and George Floyd, that painful, tragic murder of George Floyd, and really questioning what we are teaching our students. Are we teaching the history of all of us? And are we teaching that history authentically? And in those conversations, there have been questions I've heard from young people around course selection, not enough choices. How do you set priorities so you young people, I hate children and kids, so scratch that, so you young people can choose the classes you want. And so I do think it requires us to have all of you at the table when having these conversations. Usually it's more adults in the room who are determining this for you. I think there's a way in which to engage the district, and I know many of your school leaders and teachers already do this, but I think there's a way in which to engage the district so that you guys are at the table pushing for the types of classes you want. I'll give you one example. When I was at Boston Latin School, where I started as a 6E in the 7th grade, there were 2 classes that I was able to take that folks and students pushed for. One was called World Cultures. So there was a teacher that was there who expanded his curriculum to teach world cultures, which was amazing. And so we got to take that type of class, but students advocated. And then we had Facing History. I think it was the first year that Boston Latin School had Facing History. So we could learn about the Holocaust and learn that the Holocaust didn't just involve murdering Jewish people, but also involved murdering folks who were LGBTQ, murdering folks who were deemed to be other, and who were gypsies, right? So it was an expansive class that included a whole breadth of things that were very interesting. And so we were able to sort of choose some of that. And I do think there's a way to ensure that every school has access to the same level of choice.
Thank you so much for that answer. Another question, what Mr. Johnson says is great plans to expand affordable housing, but how will you reduce housing segregation based on race and national origin in this highly segregated city?
Oh, I love that question. So first of all, this is near and dear to me, whether it's as a counselor or as a candidate, lifting up the fact that Boston, while we love our city and while we are the first and the best in many things, we also are still considered one of the most unequal cities in the country, one of the most segregated cities. I live in Mattapan. I often talk to constituents who live outside my district who have never been to Mattapan, who have never been to Dorchester. So the segregation is real. And so I think it's the city acknowledging that, lifting up that fact and not pretending it doesn't exist, and talking about why we are so segregated and why in certain communities you have largely people of color who are living in poverty. That's not by accident, right? That happened because government perpetuated certain policies that excluded and marginalized people, and discriminated against people from sort of obtaining certain opportunity. racism, right, perpetuated by government, created these conditions. And so I'm often pushing that when we are building housing, affordable housing, supportive housing to deal with issues of homelessness, et cetera, that we are addressing the issue of NIMBYism, not in my backyard. So everyone in the city says, I want housing and I want affordable housing. We all agree we need it. But when we go to build it, people are like, oh, no, not over here, not in my neighborhood. Put that in Dorchester, Hyde Park, Mattapan, or Roxbury. And I think that's where we as the government leaders have to step up and say, no, we're not going to accept NIMBYism, because that's a form of discrimination too, and exclusion. And I will add, it also comes up in the conversation of folks who are dealing with substance use disorder. And if you've spent any time, of course, at Mass Ave and Melnia Cass, you can just drive through or go into the area and you will see folks who are struggling with substance use disorder. And as we try to create more programs for folks across the entire city of Boston, we're running into the same thing. Folks saying, I don't want that programming in my backyard. And so I think us as leaders have to be intentional about where we place all of these services, and to say all of us in this city have a role to play. And it's an incumbent upon those in government to not accept NIMBYism, and to push for all of us to share in the responsibility of addressing issues that affect all of us and affect our city. And so I don't stand for it. We've had some success in my district in some of these tough conversations. And if folks are invited usually to participate at the beginning of a conversation, even if it's hard, sometimes we can actually end up in a very thoughtful and successful place.
Thank you so much. Our student Dario, he has a question.
A question I have is, how you gonna help like people like us who's living in poverty?
Thank you so much for the question. And so one is homeownership. Believe it or not, many of these programs, I think, start when you're 18 years old. First-time homebuyer classes. There are savings programs and programs that teach you how to save your money, how to get a good job. So I think it involves helping you get a good job, right? It also involves financial coaching. So, we've all heard about our credit. Credit is important, whether I like it or not. Having good credit is important. There are a whole host of programs out here that help young people right now understand credit and why it's important, how to use it wisely, how to save your money, how not to spend it uselessly. There's a whole bunch of programs out there that I would love to connect you guys to, because that's important. In addition to having a good job, there are also programs that help you if you live in affordable housing, or I will say public housing. So for example, like Franklin Field or Franklin South, which is in my district in Dorchester. There are programs that are helping people move out of public housing, out of poverty, into homeownership opportunities. And I pushed for a program to actually be brought into our Boston Housing Authority, and it took 2 years for that to happen as a counselor. And I often say, if I were mayor, it would have taken 10 days, right? Like, we can do things quicker. And there are a whole host and range of opportunities out there. My job, though, is to make sure that all of you have access to those programs and opportunities, have the assistance to navigate the processes, because sometimes they can be complicated, so that you do not have to live in poverty. And I will tell you, my whole life has been about breaking cycles and generational cycles of poverty, of mediocrity, and I also say of criminalization. I've had relatives that are incarcerated. So for me, if I can do it, it can absolutely happen for you guys. I own a home now with my husband in Mattapan. This is the first time I've ever owned. And when I sat down one day, we were just signing the paperwork, I sat and I just cried, because I knew this was a way out of poverty. All of this is available to you guys too. We just have to make sure that you guys have access. And this is available to you regardless of your current circumstances. So if your family's living in poverty right now, if you're in a community where you're seeing uptick in violence, if you're in a community where you don't feel supported, we're not going to eradicate your circumstance overnight, but we can get you out of poverty so that you are empowered and equipped to break cycles, to do better for yourself and for your future families.
Thank you.
All right,
so
Jean,
much.
I'm passionate about that, Jean, passionate.
Kellen, you had a question?
Yeah. Councillor Campbell, you have been mentioning a lot of amazing opportunities that are available for all the community in the city of Boston. But my question is, how are these opportunities being promoted within the communities that don't actually speak English fluently?
Great question. The city is not doing a great job, I will tell you. And so whether, for example, vaccines, we're pushing folks to get vaccinated. It's very important in the midst of COVID. And I had a hearing yesterday that was 5 hours long on how we need to do better to reach what we call our hard to reach communities. So those communities that are immigrant communities, undocumented residents, people of color. And instead, the strategy is usually, we'll wait for you guys to call us. And I think instead we need to be investing in organizations on the ground that already have those trusted relationships. Sometimes that's your schools we could be giving information to. Sometimes that's your health centers. Sometimes that's your local churches or places of worship. Sometimes that's your community-based center. So maybe, I often say grandparents who are going somewhere to play bingo or something, right? How do we invest as a city in these organizations that already have the relationships, that speak the language, and are also culturally competent, right? You know how to navigate a specific culture to get your message across. Every culture is different, especially if you include, obviously, different languages, different countries, different religious backgrounds. And so the good thing about the city of Boston is we have a whole bunch of nonprofits. We have a whole bunch of community-based organizations. I think the city needs to invest in that infrastructure that already exists and to use it better and to market and to make and sort of do awareness campaigns. And so right now we're doing a lot of it on social media or on Zoom. A lot of folks don't have access to technology, right? So we have to close the digital divide. But even then, some folks don't like to get on technology. So we still have to go through these community-based organizations. And another thing that's really important too is just what we call this peer-to-peer contact. So a young person is more likely to do something that we would want them to do when it comes and is messaged by another young person. So we need to be investing in our young people. We need to be hiring you guys. We need to be making you part of these campaigns. And so when we were trying to push something out, you guys are the messenger and we empower you to deliver the message versus say me, because you guys are more inclined to actually connect with one another, to understand one another. And a young person is more inclined to receive the message when it comes from a peer. And that's true for our seniors, our elders, and those in the immigrant community too. So we have more work to do there for sure, Kellen.
Thank you. Another question, Kennifer, one of our students asked is, what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on confidentiality and privacy?
Well, I will say we need it when it's appropriate. And so I'll give you, obviously I brought up the domestic violence concerns. Those are really tough cases to navigate. Sometimes folks obviously want us to maintain confidentiality. We also know it's important in the public safety context. If we want folks to come forward and talk about something they've seen in community that has been horrific, a crime or something like that, protecting our residents who do that is critically important. Sometimes we do not do that well. I think it's really important in the context of those folks who are currently undocumented, but who are residents. And we want these residents to engage with government. But obviously government right now has a lot to do to rebuild trust, not only with immigrant communities and those who are undocumented, but frankly with all of us. And so recognizing that, I sometimes have folks who will not want to email. Obviously it was easier before COVID because you could meet in person, but who maybe want to be helpful and share things, but they're just not ready to come forward because of a distrust with government. And I think there's a way to navigate that and confidentially, and then sort of build trust where folks feel more compelled to come forward and participate in hearings, to help on public safety concerns, and to help with other issues. But I think it involves maintaining that confidentiality at the outset, if necessary, to be able to while we rebuild trust, to then hopefully have folks feel more comfortable with engaging with government, because it's so critically important. If folks do not engage with their government, they're missing out on a lot of incredible programming that can help them and help them meet the needs, not just for themselves, but of their families as well.
Thank you. Dario has a question.
Another question I have is how you're gonna improve to like gun violence in Boston?
Thank you so much for the question. And we're in many neighborhoods seeing an uptick in violence. Frankly, was just dealing with a shooting, of a gentleman, a young man right in his car up the street from me, but also in the district, actually right near where your school is, frankly, right? It is tragic, it is sad. But I think in order to address the issues of violence, one, we have to get at the root causes of it. People living in poverty, who have a sense of hopelessness, who don't think the future is bright. Well, you don't usually, if you feel that way, you're not usually inclined to go after the things you want. You probably go a different way. And so I do think it's about getting people jobs and careers. I was actually on a forum last night where guys who were incarcerated and are now out were talking about the importance of jobs that pay a good wage, but also mental health supports. There's a lot of trauma we are all experiencing in our communities. And if you are not addressing that, that will catch up with you. And it usually doesn't come out in a good form. And whether that is using drugs, drinking too much, whatever it is, that, those unhealthy ways of responding to your trauma. So when I say mental health supports, it is talking to a therapist, it is being connected to a mental health clinician. That is critically important. And all those gentlemen on the panel last night who were involved in the life, all of them said it was critically important that they have mental health supports. But in addition to that, that you have access to a loving adult, whether it's a mentor or someone who believes in you to keep you on track. I was young once. I did stupid stuff. We all have real stupid stuff. I didn't end up in jail, but I could have, frankly, of some of the bad choices. But I had mentors that always believed in me and said, okay, you made a mistake. Like, let's get you back on track. And so that's critically important too, attaching yourself to a loving adult who believes in you and will always show up. And our young people need that. Some of our adults need that. And there's programming for this, but we need to expand it. And one of the big conversations right now in the council in the city is taking some of the dollars from our police budget, which is in the millions. There's over $400 million, taking some of that to invest in these other programs that will actually help address the issues of violence, because police alone cannot solve the issue of violence in our communities. And then lastly, supporting each other. There used to be a greater social connection between residents in communities. Now you have folks who live on a street who don't know who lives on their street. We have to change that. That social connection is critically important. If you go out into the suburbs and you look at any studies, they talk about that is a big deal to reducing issues of violence and also public safety concerns, is when folks know one another. And I think there's a way in the city for us to push to create a greater sense of community and to drive that, to get you to know who your neighbor is. Come out of your house, not right now in COVID, of course. Be careful. If you do come out and go see your neighbor, please go masked up with some hand sanitizer. But, at some point, right, getting to know just who's on your street and how you support one another. You probably have a lot more in common than you think.
Thank you. This other question comes from Ms. And she asks, what is your plan to address climate change in the city?
That is a great one. And so a whole bunch of things. I will tell you, the city of Boston has some really great plans. We have a lot of great maps and various things to help us change our infrastructure so it's more green, electrify our cars in our fleet that are run by the city of Boston. So just green our operation to reduce emissions, which of course will help. The council also has passed legislative victories, whether it's the wetlands ordinance, the plastic bag ban, all these things that drive to help us address the issues of climate. I will also ask, we've done really great things in pushing for more creative recycling tools. We can do more to push composting, just other creative waste reduction strategies in the city of Boston. For me, where I come at it is, I think we can move these timelines up. Many of them say 2030 or 2040. We can move the timeline up because this is a major threat to all of us. We can invest more. Most of these departments, whether it's parks or the Office of Resiliency that is helping every community be more resilient, are struggling for dollars. So we can invest more. But I also think one piece that is critically important is right now in the climate movement, I often feel frustrated by this. It does not center communities of color who are bearing the brunt. And this is not just Black and brown people, our Asian community, our AAPI community, many communities who are bearing the brunt of these environmental injustices. I still get calls about lead. I still get calls, of course, about air pollution. I still get calls about asthma rates, all of this environmental injustices, flooding, heat. And so how do we make sure that communities of color are engaged in this movement and are centered in this movement? Because it is not just about reducing emissions, it also is about jobs. The green economy, clean energy is producing hundreds of thousands of jobs, people. Let me tell you, you guys are still in school. You need to be looking at the jobs in the green economy, science, math, learning HVAC systems, all of that critically important. There are a whole host of jobs, and they are good paying jobs, my people, good paying jobs that are available to you. That is also part of this climate movement discussion. In addition to all of that, it's also just making sure that when we are looking at our infrastructure, our buses, for example, the MBTA, that is producing a lot of air pollution in our communities, that we push the state to do their part, to electrify the fleet and other things. So there's a lot we can do, but for me, it's critically important that communities of color be centered in ways they haven't in the past.
Maritza has a question.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, I love that on your wall.
Oh, thanks.
I know we're all in your house because you're on Zoom, but I love it. It's beautiful.
Thank you. My question is, what did you want to be before you had your mindset on being a mayor?
So let me go all the way back. I loved math. Math was my favorite subject going through school. So for a long time, I wanted to be an accountant because I just wanted to do a lot of things with numbers and math. That ended up changing though when I got to college and I set my eyes on being a lawyer. So I ended up becoming a lawyer. And then life happens and I ended up running for office after my brother. And so I always say, you can be whatever you want. And it doesn't have to mean that you sort of stick to the first thing you choose, right? Life happens. You may take a class or participate in a movement or a march and you suddenly want to do something else, go for it. Don't stay stuck for 30 or 40 years. Just say, oh, I had a career in, as an accountant. But if you hate it, don't stay in that career. So go after what you dream of and what literally makes you passionate. So every day when I wake up, even if it's hard, and it is sometimes hard doing this work of being a public servant, I am still enthusiastic, right? I'm still excited about my day. Of course, I was happy that I knew I was going to start my day with you guys, right? That if you sort of get out of bed and you're like, oh, I have to go back there, I got to be with those people, then you need to find a different job and a different career and a different passion. And you can have more than one. So pursue it all. And if you want to dance, dance, right? If you want to do something else in addition to dance, do it all. And so it will change over time, but go after what you dream of for yourself.
This question is from Ms. Z, and she says, how do you differentiate yourself from other candidates, given that this is a historic election where all candidates will be women of color with strong progressive records?
That's a great question. Well, I will say, there may be some men that jump into this race too. So I'm hearing rumors about some men, but anyway, God bless the men. We're going to focus on the women and making history in the city of Boston. But for me, I think there are some major distinctions. One is our life stories and our why. So why we decided to run for office in the first place, why we're running for mayor. Everything I've done is rooted in a painful story. But I've said that in order to address the inequities that we've been talking about, whether in policing, poverty, housing, education, there are a whole host of inequities in our city. You need a leader that doesn't just understand it, but has lived it. I grew up in affordable housing. I was a public school kid, right? We grew up poor and in poverty. I had relatives that were incarcerated. I have relatives that have died, right? I think that shows up very different. So that lived experience is near and dear. And I think that is critically important and absolutely needed in this moment in time in our leadership, not just reflective of our faces of our community, but also our experiences. And in addition, I'll just add, my leadership style has been one where I bring people together. people who are different, people who may disagree. And I am sort of thoughtful in that way. It's really important. And then lastly, I will say the issues we focused on. I've always focused on policing reform, moving people out of poverty, housing, our Boston public schools, and making sure they are excellent for everybody, closing the gaps that exist for our students, focusing on anything related to young people, creating a fund for jobs, creating a fund for after school programs. So the issues we have focused on have also been distinct in our record of accomplishment. So stay, follow these races, ask the tough questions like you did today. And I'll just add, how we show up is different. They ain't like me. I'm just going to be honest, right? How we engage, for me, this is me all the time. Being my authentic, real self, and relatable is really important. I see myself in you guys. I'm not up here. We're here. That is so important to me, particularly as we look at elected leaders who are about their power and sort of this top-down approach and not that connection to residents. So I'm excited for the campaign ahead, but most importantly, just so grateful to be here with you guys this morning. So I appreciate you guys, and of course, appreciate all of you educators and staff. And Principal King, thank you so much for your leadership as well.
Thank you so much. So we have the obligatory moment of taking a Zoom picture, which is always—
hold on, let me fix my hair.
Which is always a challenge. Tony Jackson, you're going to take the screenshot, so you'll tell us when to smile. You're on
I'm
mute.
ready. As soon as
Okay.
I see
Say 1, 2, 3.
Okay. I'm waiting for Fatumata and Lake and Michaela and Shania. Move the screen so we are not just looking at your head, but actually your beautiful face, please. Sean, I'd love to have you in the picture. Ms. Vash, you're on my screen, so I would love to see all of you. Thank you, Lake. Love a listener. Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. Great. So glad. Counselor Campbell, let me just also say I'm so grateful to you for coming today and for having Sean work with you. He's just been a great partner in making sure that we were ready for you to come. And so I've been getting texts throughout the hour from teachers. So impressed with you, so impressed with our student leaders. So thank you so much for giving us a really special hour today. I know Mr. King has more to say, but I needed to say it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I'm just adding on it. I really appreciate the way that you embrace our students' questions, like you were saying, take them totally seriously. The future of Boston is here in this Zoom and watching.
That's right.
And one thing that I think that you said that resonates with how we think about our school community is that these amazing students are a resource to solve the problem.
That's right.
They can be out there, they can do the work, and they can start now. It's not after college. It's not when they're ready. They've done some of this work already, and I really appreciate your vision of having them do more. And just want to make sure that everyone knows, although the city councilor has wide and deep knowledge about everything, she's also fun. And when she talked about building community, one of the things she did is start a jazz festival in Mattapan, which it will be again.
It will be again post-COVID, I know.
But just a fabulous community event that folks in the neighborhood really look forward to. So thank you again, Counselor Campbell. This meant a lot to our school community, and we will, of course, be in touch moving forward.
No, thank you all. And to the students, you're amazing, right? You're already leaders. You're not growing to be leaders. You're already leaders, here to support you. And to the staff and the teachers and Principal King, thank you so much for having me. Everyone stay safe and healthy. The virus is still out here while people get vaccinated, so continue to take care of yourself and take all necessary precautions, and look forward to coming back soon. So thank you guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.